When Evan Kincaid broke through the wall of his foreclosed farmhouse, he thought he'd find old pipes or forgotten insulation. Instead, he found a sealed room, a chair, a tape recorder, and bones that had been waiting in the dark for 20 years. The voice on those tapes named names, powerful names, and described a hit and run that was never supposed to be investigated. Within 48 hours, someone slashed his tires, burned his property, and made it clear that the past was supposed to stay buried. But Evan kept digging, and what he pulled from the creek changed everything. Subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from, because this story gets darker before it gets anywhere close to light. Evan Kincaid set his toolbox on the warped porch and looked at the farmhouse. The foreclosure papers said it was built in 1947. Paint peeled from the siding in long curls. The roof sagged over the kitchen. He tested the first step. It held. He climbed and unlocked the door. Inside smelled of dust and mice. He walked through each room and made notes. The bedroom closet had water damage. The bathroom floor was soft near the tub. The kitchen cabinets hung crooked on rusted hinges. He could fix all of it. That was the plan. He carried his duffel to the bedroom and unpacked 3 changes of clothes. A cardboard box sat in the corner. His wife's name was written on the side in marker. He pushed it against the wall and turned away. In the kitchen, he found the breaker panel behind a cabinet door. He flipped switches until the overhead bulb flickered on. The refrigerator hummed. Small victories counted now. He spent the afternoon checking the plumbing. The sink faucet sputtered brown water, then cleared. He tested the well pump behind the house. It coughed twice and started running steady. At dusk, he heated soup on a camp stove and ate standing at the counter. Through the window, he saw hills going dark. No neighbors, no lights, just trees and quiet. He washed the bowl in cold water and dried it with a rag. His hands moved without thought. Muscle memory from years of work. It felt better than stopping. He walked the rooms again with a flashlight. In the hallway, he tapped the walls and listened. Most gave back a hollow sound. One section near the bedroom door sounded different. He tapped again. The echo was wrong. He crouched and ran his hand along the baseboard. The trim didn't match the rest. The wood was newer. The nails were Phillips head screws painted over. He stood and aimed the light at the seam where wall met ceiling. The line was too straight, too deliberate. Someone had built this wall recently. Someone had hidden something. He went to the truck and brought in his pry bar. He set it on the floor beside the wall. Tomorrow he would find out what was back there. Tonight he needed sleep, but sleep didn't come. He lay in the dark and listened to the house settle. He thought about the wall. He thought about his wife's box in the corner. He thought about why anyone would seal off a room. Evan woke at dawn and made instant coffee. He drank it standing at the hall wall. The pry bar leaned where he'd left it. He touched the drywall. It felt normal, but the spacing behind it was off. He marked a section with pencil and grabbed a hammer. The first hit punched through easily. Too easily. He pulled away chunks of gypsum and saw the studs underneath. They were staggered. Not load-bearing, just a frame to hold a false wall. He kept working. Dust coated his arms. Sweat ran into his eyes. Within an hour, he had cleared a section 3 feet wide. Behind the studs was another wall, thinner, older. A truck rumbled up the driveway. Evan wiped his face and walked to the porch. A woman got out holding a casserole dish. She was maybe 40. Dark hair pulled back, work boots under jeans. "You're Evan," she said. "I am Mara Sloan. I live 2 miles down the road." She held out the dish. "Thought you might need a meal." He took it. It was still warm. "Thank you." She looked past him into the house. Her eyes caught on the dust and broken drywall. You doing work already? Found an odd wall. Thought I'd open it up. Odd how? Built after the rest of the house, hidden behind another wall. Mara's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Some folks around here don't like changes. It's my house now. That's what the bank says. She stepped back toward her truck. Just letting you know how it is. I appreciate the food. She nodded and drove off. Evan carried the casserole to the kitchen and set it in the fridge. He stood at the window and watched the road. No other cars came. He went back to the hallway. The hidden wall stared at him. He picked up the pry bar and wedged it into the seam. The old wall gave with a crack. Stale air pushed out. It smelled wrong, not mold, something else. He pulled harder. A section came away, and light from his work lamp spilled into a gap. He leaned in with the flashlight. The beam found a chair, a table, a tape recorder covered in dust, and bones on the floor. Human bones. Evan stepped back. His hand shook. The flashlight beam jerked across the hidden room. He forced himself to look again. The skeleton sat slumped against the far wall. Clothes hung loose on the frame. A flannel shirt, jeans, work boots still laced. The tape recorder sat on a small table beside the chair. Cassettes were stacked next to it. Maybe 6 or 7. Labels faced up, but he couldn't read them from here. He pulled out his phone. No signal. He'd known that before buying the place. He walked to the kitchen and tried the landline. Dead. The service hadn't been turned on yet. He grabbed his keys and drove 10 miles to the gas station. Inside, he asked the clerk for the sheriff's number. "You okay?" the clerk asked. "I need the sheriff. Now." The clerk wrote it down. Evan called from the payphone outside. "Sheriff's office." Woman said, "I found human remains in my house." A pause. "Say that again." "I'm renovating a farmhouse on Creek Hollow Road. I opened a sealed wall. There's a body inside." "Stay where you are. Someone's coming." Evan drove back. He sat on the porch and waited. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. 40 minutes later, a cruiser pulled up. A man in his 50s climbed out, badge on his belt, gray in his beard. "I'm Sheriff Harper. You Evan Kincaid?" "Yes." "Show me." Evan led him inside. Harper stood at the opening and aimed his flashlight into the sealed room. He didn't speak for a full minute. "Don't touch anything," Harper finally said. "I haven't." Harper pulled out his radio. "I need the coroner and a deputy at Creek Hollow. Possible remains. Sealed room." He turned to Evan. "You live here alone?" "I just moved in. Bought it at foreclosure 3 days ago." "Who owned it before?" "I don't know. Bank handled everything." Harper walked the hallway. He looked at the broken drywall, at the studs, at the older wall behind them. "Someone went to a lot of trouble," Harper said, "to hide a body. To hide a room." Harper's eyes stayed on Evan. "You got any idea why?" "No." "You touch anything in there?" "No." "You sure?" Evan felt anger cut through the shock. "I called you as soon as I found it." Harper nodded slowly. "All right, wait outside. This is going to take a while." Evan walked to the porch. He sat on the steps and put his head in his hands. He'd come here to fix a house, to rebuild something simple. Now he had a dead body in his wall. The coroner arrived with 2 deputies. They worked inside for 3 hours. Evan sat on the porch and watched them carry equipment in and out. Harper came out near sunset. He had a notebook in his hand. "Coroner says the remains are old, maybe 20 years, maybe more." "Who was it?" Evan asked. "We'll need dental records, DNA if we can get it." Harper flipped a page. "You said you bought this at foreclosure?" From First Trust Bank. They sent me the deed. Previous owner was Samuel Pruitt. Died 4 years ago. Heart attack. Did he build the wall? Can't say yet. Harper looked at the house. Room was sealed tight. Air vent ran up through the soffit. Someone wanted that person alive for a while. Evan felt sick. This was a prison. Or a hiding place that went wrong. Harper put the notebook away. We're taking the tapes. They might tell us something. What tapes? The cassettes on the table. You didn't see them? I saw them. I didn't touch them. Harper studied him. You got any plans to leave town? This is my home now. Keep it that way. I'll have questions. The coroner's van pulled away with the body. The deputies followed. Harper was the last to leave. He stopped at his cruiser. One more thing. You find anything else in that room, you call me. Don't mess with it. Don't move it. You understand? I understand. Harper drove off. Evan walked back, inside. Yellow tape crossed the hallway. The hidden room was dark now, empty except for the chair and table. He started to turn away. Then he saw something on the floor near the baseboard. A cassette, half covered in dust. Harper's team had missed it. Evan looked at the empty driveway. He thought about calling Harper back. Instead, he stepped over the tape. He picked up the cassette and slipped it into his pocket. He told himself he'd turn it in tomorrow. After he listened. Just once. Evan waited until dark. He sat at the kitchen table with the cassette and an old tape player he'd found in the barn. He pressed play. Static hissed. Then a man's voice. Rough, tired. If you're hearing this, I didn't make it to town. Evan leaned closer. My name is Dale Emery. I work at the radio station. Used to, anyway. I started asking questions about the dump site near Quarry Road, about the county barrels stored there, about who signed off on it. The voice paused, breathing, heavy. Caleb North came to see me, said I was making trouble, said people don't like trouble. I told him I'd go to the state if he didn't clean it up. Another pause. Longer this time. 3 nights ago I was driving home. Someone hit my car from behind on the quarry turn. I went off the road, broke my leg. I crawled up the bank and hid in the trees. The voice cracked. Evan heard fear in it. Caleb was there. He looked for me, but it was dark. He told the other guy to forget it. Said they'd report it as a deer strike. Said I'd turn up eventually and he'd handle it then. Static crackled. I made it to this house. Pruitt's place. He's gone to see his daughter for the week. I broke in. I'm locked in this back room in case Caleb comes looking. I've got water and some canned food. When my leg heals, I'll walk to town and tell the state police everything. The tape went quiet, just breathing. If I don't make it, someone needs to know. Caleb North buried evidence. He covered up pollution. He tried to kill me to keep it quiet. The voice stopped. The tape ran on. Static and nothing else. Evan hit stop. His hands were shaking again. Caleb North. The name sat in the room like a stone. He rewound the tape and played it again. He wanted to be sure he'd heard right. He had. Headlights swept across the kitchen window. Evan killed the tape player and the lights. He moved to the wall and looked out. A truck idled at the end of the driveway. Dark paint, no plates visible. It sat there for 10 seconds. Then rolled away slow. Evan stayed at the window. The road was empty now, but someone had been watching. Evan woke to hammering. He pulled on jeans and went to the porch. A bright orange notice was stapled to the post. Stop work order, electrical hazards, unauthorized occupancy, no signature, no county stamp. A truck pulled up. A man in a county vest climbed out. He was maybe 35, thin, nervous eyes. You Kincaid? The man asked. I am. Jax Rudd, code, enforcement. He pointed at the notice. You can't work here until the electrical is inspected. I haven't touched the electrical. That's not what the complaint said. What complaint? Anonymous. Came in yesterday. The day after I found the body. Jax shifted his weight. I'm just doing my job. Who sent you? The county. Who at the county? Jax didn't answer. He walked toward his truck. Did Caleb North send you? Evan called. Jax stopped. He turned. His face was pale. Keep your head down, Jax said quietly. That's all I can tell you. He drove off fast. Evan tore the notice off the post. He went inside and stared at the sealed room. The tape was hidden under his mattress. The voice on it named Caleb. Now someone was trying to shut Evan down. He needed answers. He needed to know who Dale Emery was and what happened to him. The library would have old newspapers, maybe an obituary. He drove into town. Main Street was half empty, closed storefronts, faded paint. A salvage yard sat at the north end with rusted equipment stacked high. The library was a small brick building next to the courthouse. Inside, an older woman sat at the desk, white hair, sharp eyes. Help you? She asked. I'm looking for information on someone who died around 20 years ago. Dale Emery. Her expression changed. Just for a second. Dale, she said slowly. Haven't heard that name in a long time. You knew him? Everyone knew him. He did the Late Show on WKRV. She stood. Come on back. I'll show you what we have. She led him to a computer and pulled up the archives. Her hands moved fast over the keyboard. Here, she said. An obituary filled the screen. Dale Emery. Age 32. Died in a single vehicle accident on Quarry Road. Deer strike. No survivors. The date was November 1998. That's the official story, the woman said. Evan looked at her. What's the real story? I'm Ruthie Mae Carden, and you need to be careful who you ask about Dale Emery. Ruthie sat across from Evan at a corner table. The library was empty except for them. Dale was careful, she said. He didn't drink. He didn't speed. And Quarry Road is straight for half a mile before that curve. The police called it an accident. The police called it what they were told to call it. Ruthie leaned forward. Dale was asking questions about dump sites, about who approved the permits. He said on air that something wasn't right with the county contracts. Caleb North, Evan said. Ruthie's eyes went sharp. You've been listening. I found one of his tapes. Where? In my house, in a sealed room. Ruthie sat back. Her face went pale. He was alive when they put him in there. The room had an air vent, food, water. He thought he could wait it out. But he couldn't. No. Ruthie stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the street. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. Caleb ran the county back then. Still does in some ways. Contracts, permits, development deals. If Dale threatened that he'd threaten everything. Why didn't anyone look for him? They did, for a week. Then the car turned up at the bottom of a ravine. Buck blood on the fender. Sheriff at the time said case closed. She turned. That sheriff retired to Florida 2 years later. Bought a nice house on the water. Evan felt cold. Who owns the salvage yard at the end of Main Street? Caleb North. Does Sheriff Harper know about this? Harper's elected. He knows which way the wind blows. Ruthie walked back to the table. If you've got Dale's tapes, you need to be careful. People have done worse than seal up a room to keep secrets buried. I've already called the sheriff. He took the other tapes. Then they're gone. Harper's honest enough, but he's got a county board to answer to. Those tapes will get lost in evidence. Evan stood. Thank you for telling me. Don't thank me. Just don't end up like Dale. Evan drove home. The sun was setting. His hands gripped the wheel tight. When he pulled into the driveway, he saw his workshop door hanging open. He always kept it locked. He grabbed a flashlight and walked over. Inside, his tools were scattered. Drawers pulled out. Boxes overturned. Someone had searched the place, and they'd done it while he was gone. Evan checked every room in the house. Nothing else was disturbed. Just the workshop. He went to the bedroom and pulled the tape from under the mattress. Still there. But when he set it on the kitchen table, he saw it had been moved. Just an inch. Just enough. Someone had been in his house. They'd searched. They'd found the tape and decided not to take it. Why? Because taking it would confirm he had something worth stealing. The knock came an hour later. Evan opened the door. Mara stood on the porch. She was in her EMT jacket. Tired eyes, hands in her pockets. "I heard about the stop work order," she said. "News travels fast." "In a town this size, everything travels fast." She looked past him. "You okay?" "Someone broke into my workshop, searched it while I was gone." Mara's jaw tightened. "Did you call Harper?" "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because I don't know who I can trust." Mara stepped inside. She closed the door behind her. "What did you find in that room?" Evan hesitated. Then he told her. The bones, the tape, Dale Emery's voice, Caleb North's name. When he finished, Mara was quiet for a long time. "I've been an EMT for 12 years, she said finally. "About 8 years ago, we got 2 late-night calls to Quarry Road. Both times we found nothing. No accident, no victim, just tire marks and broken glass. Someone covered them up. Someone made sure they never hit the logs." She looked at him. "If you've got proof Caleb was involved in Dale's death, you're in danger." "I know." "Then why haven't you given Harper the tape?" "Because Ruthie thinks it'll disappear." "It might. But keeping it puts a target on you." Evan Ion picked up the cassette. He turned it over in his hands. "Dale died trying to tell the truth. If I hand this over and it vanishes, then he died for nothing." Mara watched him. Something shifted in her expression. Decision. "I work at the courthouse," she said. "Part-time clerk. I might be able to pull old files, permits, contracts, anything with Caleb's name on it. That could cost you your job." "Dale Emery was my cousin." The words hung in the air. Evan stared at her. "I was 16 when he died," Mara said. "I believed the deer story because everyone else did, but I never forgot how fast they closed the case." She held out her hand. "Let me help you finish what he started." Evan looked at her hand, at her face, at the risk she was offering to take. He shook it. "Tomorrow," he said. "We start tomorrow." Mara picked Evan up at dawn. They drove to the courthouse in silence. The building was gray stone. 2 stories. A flag hung limp in the still air. "We have an hour before anyone else shows up," Mara said. Inside, she led him past empty offices to a records room. Metal filing cabinets lined the walls. A computer sat on a desk in the corner. "Procurement files from the 90s are still paper," Mara said. She pulled open a drawer labeled 1998. "What are we looking for?" "Anything with Caleb's signature, contracts, purchase orders, equipment." They worked fast. Evan held files while Mara photographed pages with her phone. Most were routine: road gravel, office supplies, vehicle maintenance. Then Mara stopped. "Here." She held up a requisition form. "Culvert repairs, Quarry Road drainage, approved by C. North, County Supervisor." The date was October 1998, 1 month before Dale died. "Look at the purchase codes," Mara said. Evan leaned closer. A series of stamped numbers ran down the margin. Equipment serial codes, standard procurement tracking. "Can you photograph those?" Evan asked. "Already doing it." Mara's phone clicked 3 times. "If we find hardware with matching stamps, we can tie it to Caleb's authorization." Footsteps echoed in the hall. They both froze. The steps passed. A door closed somewhere above them. "We need to go," Mara said. They refiled the folders. Mara logged out of the computer. They walked out the back entrance and circled to the parking lot. In the truck, Mara pulled up the photos. "What now?" "I need to walk my property lines," Evan said. "That air vent had to run somewhere. If I can find where it exits, I might understand how they built the room." "When?" "This morning, before anyone else comes around." Mara started the engine. "I'll drop you off. I've got a shift at noon. Thank you for this." "Don't thank me yet. We've barely started." She drove him home. The sun was climbing. Light cut through the trees and made long shadows on the ground. Evan grabbed a survey map from the truck. He'd ordered it when he bought the place. Property lines, creek boundaries, elevation markers. He walked, the ridge behind the house. The terrain sloped down toward the creek. Dense brush, old timber, the kind of ground that hid things. He found the soffit vent on the north side of the house, a metal grate painted to match the trim. He followed the line of the roof down to where the vent would drop inside the wall. It lined up with the sealed room. He walked down slope. 50 yards out, he saw a plastic conduit half buried in leaves. It ran from the house foundation toward the creek. Someone had disguised the air intake as drainage. Smart. Simple. He followed the conduit to the creek bank. It ended in a tangle of roots and erosion. The bank was steep here. Water had cut deep into the soil. Footprints marked the mud, fresh. Size 11 boots, not his. Someone had been here recently. Evan walked back to the truck. His tires were fine when he'd parked. Now both rear tires had cuts in the sidewalls. Clean slices. Utility knife. He wasn't going anywhere. Evan called Mara from the landline. The service had been turned on that morning. "My tires are slashed," he said. "Where are you?" "At the house. Someone came while I was walking the property." "I'm coming back." "You've got a shift." "I'll call in. Stay inside." She arrived 20 minutes later. She looked at the tires, and her face went hard. "This is escalating," she said. "I know." "Did you see anyone?" "No, but I found footprints down by the creek. Someone's been watching the property." Mara pulled out her phone. "I'm calling Harper." "He won't do anything." "He needs to document this. If something happens to you, there has to be a record." Harper showed up an hour later. He walked around the truck, took photos, wrote in his notebook. "Any idea who did this?" Harper asked. "No," Evan said. "You've made someone nervous." "I found a body in my wall. That tends to make people nervous." "That body had been there 20 years. It could have stayed there 20 more. Dale Emery deserved better." Harper looked at him. "You're not telling me everything." "I've told you what I know." "Have you?" Harper closed his notebook. "If you're poking around in things you shouldn't be poking around in, that's going to cause problems." "I'm just trying to fix my house." "Then fix it and stay out of county business." Harper walked to his cruiser. He stopped and turned. "Someone cuts your tires again, you call me right away. Not 2 hours later." He drove off. Mara leaned against her truck. "He's scared." "Of what?" "Of who's pushing him. Harper's not a bad man, but he's got a pension to protect." Evan looked at the creek. "I found where the air vent terminates, down by the water. There are fresh boot prints. Someone's been checking it." "Show me." They walked down together. Mara crouched at the creek bank. She touched the mud. "These are from this morning," she said. "Before dawn, probably. See how the edges are still sharp? Why would someone check the vent now? The room's been opened. Because they want to know if you found the other end, if you understand how the system worked." Mara stood. Or they're checking something else down here. Like what? I don't know. But if Caleb was dumping barrels near the quarry road, and Dale was asking questions about it, maybe the creek is part of the story. Evan looked at the water. It ran fast here. The bank was eroded. Tree roots hung exposed. The county records showed culvert repairs, Evan said. Same month Dale disappeared. What if those repairs weren't about drainage? What if they were about hiding something? Mara pulled out her phone. She scrolled through the photos from the courthouse. The purchase codes included steel barrels, 55-gallon drums, industrial grade. She looked up. Why would a road project need industrial barrels? It wouldn't, unless they were burying something. Evan felt the pieces shift. We need to search this bank. Not without equipment, and not without backup. Mara checked her watch. I have to get to my shift, but tomorrow I'm off. We can come back with shovels, maybe a metal detector. Where do we get a metal detector? I know someone who hunts old home sites. I'll ask. They walked back to the house. A tow truck was pulling into the driveway. Evan had called them earlier. Get your tires fixed, Mara said. Install a trail camera if you've got one. We need to know who's coming around. I've got one in the barn. Set it up tonight, facing the driveway and the workshop. She drove off. The tow truck driver loaded Evan's pickup onto the flatbed. Be ready tomorrow afternoon, the driver said. Evan spent the rest of the day setting up the camera. Motion activated. Infrared night vision. He mounted it on a tree with a clear view of the house and driveway. If someone came back, he'd have proof. At dusk, he sat on the porch and ate cold casserole. The hills went dark. Somewhere in the trees, an owl called. He thought about Dale Emery locked in that room, waiting, hoping someone would find him. No one had. Not for 20 years. Evan wasn't going to let that silence continue. Ruthie called the next morning. Evan didn't know she had his number. I've been thinking about what you told me, she said, about the tapes and the room. And? Dale used to rant on his show about county barrels. Listeners would call in. Some of them said they'd seen drums stored near the old dump. Said they smelled chemicals after heavy rain. When was this? Summer of '98, right before he died. Evan sat down. Do you remember any details? One caller said the barrels had county stamps. Another said they'd been moved after Dale started asking questions. Ruthie paused. There's more. Dale's last show was about flood warnings. He said if the creek rose high enough, it would wash away whatever someone was trying to hide. Did he name anyone? No, but everyone knew who he meant. Evan looked out the window at the creek. The flood warnings. When were they? Late October. We had 2 weeks of rain. Creek came up 6 feet. And Dale died in November. 2 weeks after the floods ended. Evan felt it click. He saw something wash out. That's why they killed him. Or why they tried to hide him until the evidence was gone. Evan thanked her and hung up. He called Mara. I need you to listen to something, he said. She arrived an hour later. Evan played the tape. Dale's voice filled the kitchen. Mara stood perfectly still. When it ended, she was pale. He mentions Caleb by name, she said, and he mentions the quarry road, the dump site, the barrels. If he saw barrels wash out during the floods and started asking questions that would explain why Caleb went after him. Evan rewound the tape. He played a section again. Listen to this part. He gives a timestamp. Says it's the 14th. That would be October 14th. Mara pulled up her phone. Flood warnings went active October 10th. Ended October 24th. She looked at him. He made this recording during the floods. Which means whatever he saw was still in the creek, still visible. For 2 weeks. Then Caleb hit his car and sealed him in the room. By the time anyone looked for Dale, the evidence was covered again. Mara sat down. We need to search that creek bank. If barrels are buried there, we need proof. When? Tomorrow morning. Low water. Before anyone's up. She looked at Evan. This is going to get dangerous. It already is. I mean really dangerous. If Caleb finds out we're digging, he won't just slash tires. I know. Mara stood. I'll bring the metal detector. You bring shovels. We meet at first light. She left. Evan spent the afternoon checking the trail camera. It had caught 3 triggers overnight. Deer, a raccoon, nothing human. He reviewed Dale's tape again, listened to every word, made notes. The story was simple. Caleb had dumped industrial waste. Dale had found out. Caleb had stopped him permanently, but proving it required finding those barrels. Evan went to the barn and gathered tools. 2 shovels, a pry bar, work gloves, a come-along winch in case they needed to pull something heavy. He carried everything to the truck and locked it. At sunset, he walked down to the creek. The water was low. The bank was exposed. Roots hung like fingers. Somewhere under the mud was evidence. Tomorrow they'd find it. Mara arrived before dawn. She had a metal detector and a backpack. They walked to the creek without speaking. The water ran quiet. Morning light filtered through the trees. Mist hung over the surface. Mara turned on the detector. She swept it along the exposed bank. Static hissed, then a sharp beep. Something here, she said. Evan pushed the shovel into the mud. It hit resistance 3 inches down. He dug wider. Mara helped with her hands. Metal appeared. Curved. Rusted. That's a barrel lid, Mara said. They cleared more mud. The lid was intact. Stamped numbers ran along the rim. Evan pulled out his phone and photographed them. Check these against the procurement codes, he said. Mara scrolled through her photos. Her hands were shaking. Same digits, same sequence. Evan felt cold. This is it. This is what Dale found. A truck engine sounded on the road above. They both froze. The sound slowed, stopped, then moved on. We need to mark this, Mara said. GPS coordinates, more photos. We need everything documented. Evan took photos from 6 angles. Mara recorded coordinates on her phone. The barrel was embedded deep. Flood erosion had exposed just the top edge. How many more are down here? Evan asked. Could be a dozen, could be 50. Mara stood. We need to call someone. State Environmental, EPA, someone who can force action. If we call now, Caleb will know we found it. If we don't call, he'll move it. 1 truck and a winch and this barrel disappears. Evan looked at the exposed metal. We need more evidence. 1 barrel could be an accident, a dumping. We need to prove it's part of a pattern. How? We come back tonight. Bring lights. Dig wider. Find the others. Mara's face was tight. That's a risk. Everything we're doing is a risk. She nodded slowly. Tonight, after dark. We'll have maybe 2 hours before someone notices. They covered the barrel with branches and mud. Made it look natural. Then they climbed back to the house. Evan's truck was in the driveway. Tires fixed. He walked around it. Nothing looked disturbed. Then he saw the scrap pile near the workshop. Smoke curled from the center. He ran over. Flames licked through the wood. Paint cans were starting to bulge from heat. The fire was spreading toward the workshop wall. Mara grabbed the hose. Evan turned the spigot. Water sprayed across the pile. It took 10 minutes to kill the flames. Black smoke drifted through the trees. The workshop siding was scorched. This was deliberate, Mara said. I know. Someone's watching right now. They saw us at the creek and they did this. Evan smelled accelerant under the smoke. Gasoline, maybe lighter fluid. They're trying to scare us off, he said. It's working. Evan looked at the burned pile, at the scorched wall, at Mara's soot-covered face. We go back tonight, he said. We find the other barrels. We document everything. Then we call the state and make it impossible to cover up. Mara wiped her face. And if Caleb shows up while we're down there? Then we run. She held his eyes, then nodded. Tonight, she said. Bring everything you've got. Evan spent the afternoon preparing. He organized tools, charged flashlights, made copies of Dale's tape on a borrowed recorder. One copy went under the truck seat. One went in the barn loft. The original stayed under his mattress. If someone came for the tapes, they'd find something. But not everything. At 3 o'clock, a truck pulled into the driveway. Evan recognized it. Caleb North. Caleb climbed out slow. He was 60-something. Thick shoulders, gray beard, smile lines around his eyes. Evan Kincaid? Caleb called. That's me. Caleb walked up with his hand extended. Caleb North. I own the salvage yard in town. Heard you've been having some trouble. Evan didn't shake. What kind of trouble? Tires slashed, fire in your scrap pile. That's not how we treat newcomers around here. Funny. I thought that's exactly how you treat them. Caleb's smile didn't shift. I came to make an offer. Buy your place. Cash. Well above market. You can start fresh somewhere else without all this headache. Why would you want to buy my house? It's got good bones, good land. I've been looking to expand my holdings. No thanks. Caleb looked past him at the workshop, at the scorched siding. Shame about that fire. Could have been worse. Could have taken the whole building. Is that a threat? That's a fact. Caleb's eyes came back to Evan. Things happen out here. Accidents, misunderstandings. A man living alone could find himself in a bad situation real fast. I'll take my chances. Caleb nodded slowly. Offer stands. You change your mind, you know where to find me. He walked back to his truck. Before getting in, he looked toward the creek. Just a glance, but deliberate. He knew. Evan watched him drive away. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger. He called Mara. Caleb just tried to buy the house. What did you say? I said no. Good. That means we're getting close. He looked at the creek. He knows we found something. Then we move tonight, before he has time to cover it. Evan hung up. He walked to the workshop and opened the door. Inside, everything looked normal. Then he saw the scrap pile outside the window, still smoking. Someone had lit it while he was at the courthouse with Mara. Someone had been watching the house all morning. He looked at the creek, at the tree line, at the road. Somewhere out there, Caleb was making calls, arranging things, making sure the truth stayed buried. Evan went to the barn and pulled down the master tape. He held it in his hands. Dale's voice, Dale's testimony. It was the only thing keeping him alive right now. The only reason Caleb hadn't done worse than slash tires. Because Caleb didn't know where the tape was, didn't know if copies existed, didn't know who else had heard it. That uncertainty was Evan's only protection. He put the tape in a waterproof case. Then he put the case in his jacket. If tonight went bad, he'd need it close. At dusk, Mara returned. She had a camera, extra batteries, a headlamp. Ready? She asked. Evan grabbed the shovels. Let's finish this. They worked by headlamp. The creek whispered below them. The metal detector beeped twice more. 2 additional barrels, both stamped with county codes. Evan photographed everything. Mara recorded GPS coordinates. They worked fast, silent. Then headlights cut through the trees on the road above. They killed the lamps. Darkness swallowed them. The truck stopped. An engine idled. Doors opened. Footsteps crunched gravel. Stay low, Mara whispered. They crouched behind the creek bank. 2 flashlight beams swept the property. Male voices. Too far to hear words. The beams moved toward the house, then toward the workshop. then down the slope. "They're coming," Evan said. "Go, now." They ran along the creek bed. Mud sucked at their boots. Branches whipped their faces. Behind them, the footsteps quickened. Evan pulled Mara into a thicket. They pressed flat against the ground. The flashlights passed 10 feet away. "Anything?" a voice called. "Tracks, fresh. Find them." The beams swept closer. Evan's heart hammered. Mara's hand found his. Squeezed. Then a different engine. Louder. Closer. A vehicle rolling down the drive. "Sheriff's here," one of the men said. "Shit. Move." The flashlights retreated. Evan heard doors slam. The truck drove off fast. He and Mara waited 5 full minutes. Then they crawled out and climbed back to the house. Harper's cruiser sat in the driveway. He was standing on the porch. When he saw them, his face went hard. "What the hell are you doing down by the creek at night?" "Walking my property," Evan said. "In the dark, with shovels." "That's right." Harper looked at Mara. "You're smarter than this." "Am I?" "You're risking your job, your safety. For what?" "For the truth." Harper stepped closer. "The truth is complicated. The truth has consequences. You dig up the past, you might not like what you find." "We already found it," Evan said. "County barrels, buried in the creek bank, stamped with procurement codes Caleb authorized." Harper's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then come see for yourself." "I'm not here to investigate your theories. I'm here because someone called in a disturbance." "Who?" "Anonymous." "Let me guess. They called right after we went down to the creek." Harper didn't answer. He walked to his cruiser, then stopped and turned. "Environmental crimes don't have a statute of limitations," Harper said. "If what you're saying is true and I verify it, that opens a can of worms this county can't afford. So you'll bury it." "I'll do my job. But you need to understand something. Jobs are tied to the industrial park Caleb's trying to bring in. Development money, tax base. If that falls apart because of drums buried 20 years ago, a lot of people suffer." "And if we ignore it?" Evan asked. "Then no one suffers." "Except Dale Emery, who's been dead in my wall for 2 decades. Harper looked at him for a long time. "Get proof I can't ignore. Video. Multiple witnesses. Something that forces my hand. Until then, stay out of that creek." He drove away. Mara sat on the porch steps. "He basically told us how to beat him. He told us he's scared. Of Caleb. Of the county board. Of losing his job. So we get him proof. He can't ignore. Tonight, we go back down. We film everything. We pull one of those barrels up far enough to get the full serial number." Mara looked at the tree line. "They'll be watching." "I know. That's why we're going to do it differently." "How?" Evan pulled out the waterproof case. "We're going to call them first. Tell them we're coming. Make it so public they can't stop us quietly." "That's insane." "That's the only way this ends." Evan opened the case. Dale's tape sat inside. "Tomorrow morning, we call Ruthie. We call the reporter she mentioned. We tell them we're extracting evidence from the creek at noon. We invite anyone who wants to watch. Caleb will bring his crew. Harper will have to come too, with witnesses, documentation. He won't be able to ignore it." Mara stood. She looked tired, scared, but something else too. Resolved. "Tomorrow then," she said. "We end this." Morning came gray. Rain was forecast for afternoon. Evan called Ruthie first. "I need the name of that reporter," he said. "Why?" "Because we're pulling buried county barrels out of my creek at noon today. I want it documented." Silence. Then Ruthie gave him a number. "Her name is Sarah Vance. She's been waiting for someone to talk about Dale for 20 years. Evan called. Sarah answered on the second ring. "This is about Dale Emery," Evan said. "I found his body. I found his tapes. I found county barrels buried on my property. I'm extracting one today at noon. You should be here." "I'll be there," Sarah said, "with a camera." Next, he called Mara. "It's happening." "I'll be there." Then he called Harper's office. The dispatcher answered. "Tell the sheriff there's going to be an incident at Creek Hollow Road, noon. He might want to be present." "What kind of incident?" "The kind that involves county property and environmental violations." He hung up before she could ask more. At 10:30, Jax Rudd's truck pulled into the driveway. Jax climbed out holding a citation. "Unauthorized excavation," Jax said. He looked miserable. "I'm supposed to shut you down." "Who told you to come?" "The county." Jax glanced at the house. "Caleb called my supervisor. Said you were tearing up the creek bank." "I'm documenting evidence. There's a difference." "Evan, don't do this. They'll come after you. They'll come after everyone helping you. Are you going to stop me?" Jax looked at the citation in his hands, then at Evan. "I've got a daughter. She's 3. I need this job." "Then do your job. Come down to the creek at noon. Bring your camera. Document what you see." "I can't." "You can. You're a county code inspector. If there are illegally buried barrels on my property, that's your jurisdiction." Jax's hands shook. "If I document it, I have to report it." "Yes." "And if I report it, Caleb loses everything. The industrial park deal, the development contracts, all of it." "That's not your problem." "It is my problem. This whole town runs on Caleb's deals." Evan stepped closer. "Your daughter's 3. In 15 years, she's going to ask you what you did when it mattered. What are you going to tell her?" Jax looked at the ground. His jaw worked. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. "What time?" "Noon." Jax walked back to his truck. He sat in the cab for a full minute. Then he drove away. At 11:30, Mara arrived with a come-along winch and chains. They carried everything down to the creek. Sarah Vance pulled up at 11:45. She was 50, gray hair, sharp eyes, a camera bag over her shoulder. "Show me," she said. Evan showed her the exposed barrel, the stamped numbers, the GPS coordinates. She filmed everything. "Where's the tape?" Sarah asked. Evan handed her the waterproof case. She opened it, saw the cassette inside. "Can I make a copy?" "You can have this one. I've got another." Sarah's face went pale. "You're giving me Dale's testimony?" "I'm giving you the story. Tell it right." At noon, Harper's cruiser appeared on the road. He parked and walked down. His face was stone. "This is a mistake," Harper said. "This is evidence," Evan said. Jax arrived. He had his body camera on. The red light was steady. He nodded at Evan. Then Caleb's truck rolled up. 2 men climbed out with him. They had chains, a flatbed trailer, tools. Caleb walked straight to Evan. "This is county property. You're trespassing." "This is my land. You're trespassing." "That barrel was part of a legal dump site, authorized in '98. "Then you won't mind if we pull it up and verify the stamps." Caleb's eyes went cold. "You pull that up, you're destroying evidence." "I'm preserving it." Sarah had her camera running. Jax's body cam was recording. Harper stood between them with his hand on his belt. "Everyone calm down," Harper said. Evan ignored him. He attached the winch to the barrel lip, started cranking. Caleb moved forward. "Stop." "Or what?" "Or I'll stop you." Harper stepped between them. "Caleb, back off. He's destroying county property. He's on his land." Harper looked at Evan. "Pull it slow. If it breaks, we're done." Evan cranked. The barrel shifted. Mud sucked at the metal. The winch groaned. Then rain started. Light at first, then harder. The creek began to rise. Water climbed the bank. The barrel shifted again. Evan kept cranking. His hands burned. The chain went taut. "It's coming," Mara said. Caleb's men moved closer. Harper held up his hand. "Stay back." The barrel broke free with a wet sound. Evan pulled it up the slope. The metal was crusted with mud and rust. The stamping was visible now. Clear. Sarah filmed it from 3 angles. Jax read the numbers aloud for his body camera. "County procurement serial. Matches contract Alpha 779er. Authorized October 98. Caleb's face went white. "That doesn't prove anything." "It proves county equipment ended up in a creek," Harper said. "That's enough for me to call it in." "Call what in?" "State Environmental, EPA. This just became their problem." Caleb lunged forward. He grabbed for the barrel's ID tag, tried to rip it off. Jax's body camera caught it. Sarah's camera caught it. Harper grabbed Caleb and pulled him back. "That's evidence tampering," Harper said. "Caleb North, you're under arrest." Caleb jerked away. "You can't arrest me. I run this county." "Not anymore." Harper pulled out cuffs. "You have the right to remain silent." Caleb's men backed toward their truck. Harper pointed at them. "You two stay." They froze. Mara pulled out her phone. She called someone. "State Environmental Agency. I need to report industrial barrels buried in a creek. Yes. Multiple. Yes. I'll hold." Rain pounded down. The creek rose faster. Brown water swirled around their boots. Evan looked at the barrel, at Caleb in cuffs, at Harper making calls, at Sarah's camera recording everything. 20 years. 20 years of silence, of buried truth, of a man dying in a sealed room while evidence washed away. Not anymore. Harper put Caleb in the cruiser, called for backup, told Caleb's men to wait for state police. "How many more barrels?" Harper asked Evan. "At least 2, maybe more. We're going to need a full survey, hazmat team, cleanup crew." Harper looked at Caleb through the cruiser window. "This is going to be a nightmare." "Good," Evan said. Sarah came over. "I've got enough for 3 articles, thank you." "Thank Dale. He died for this." "I'll make sure everyone knows." She drove off. Jax walked to his truck. Before leaving, he looked at Evan. "My daughter's name is Emma," Jax said. "When she asks, I'll show her today's footage." He left. Harper secured the scene with tape. State police arrived, then environmental agents, then more trucks, more equipment, more people. The rain kept falling. The creek kept rising. At dusk, Harper came to find Evan. They found 4 more barrels downstream, all county stamped, all from 98. "What happens now?" "Full investigation, prosecution, cleanup. Caleb's going to prison." "And Dale?" Harper looked at him. "Dale Emery's death is being reopened as a homicide. Witness testimony and environmental evidence support it. Caleb's being charged with murder." Evan felt something break inside him. Relief. Exhaustion. Grief. "Thank you," he said. "Don't thank me. You did this. You and Mara and Jax." Harper started to leave, then turned. "One more thing. We found remains in one of the downstream barrels. Dental hardware, consistent with Dale's records." Evan closed his eyes. Harper drove away. Mara came to stand beside him. "It's over," she said. "Not yet, but soon." They walked back to the house. The rain slowed. The sky cleared. Stars appeared. Somewhere in the dark, the creek ran. Clean now. Witnessed. Free of secrets. Dale Emery could finally rest. The next morning brought state police, environmental teams, news vans from 3 counties. Over. Evan's property became a crime scene. Yellow tape circled the creek. Trucks lined the road. Investigators in white suits photographed everything. Harper showed up at dawn. He looked like he hadn't slept. "We've got a problem," Harper said. "What kind?" "Someone called the state last night. Said you were trespassing on county land. Said you planted evidence. Evan felt cold. Who called? Don't know. Came through the main tip line. But it means someone inside my office is feeding information to Caleb's people. Can they stop the investigation? No, but they can slow it down. Create reasonable doubt. Harper looked at the house. You need to be careful. Caleb's in jail, but he's got friends. People who need this to go away. Mara's truck pulled up. She climbed out, looking pale. I got fired, she said. Evan and Harper both turned. When? Evan asked. This morning. County clerk called. Said my position was eliminated. Budget cuts. Mara's voice was flat. I printed those files under my login. Someone checked the access logs. Harper swore under his breath. That's retaliation. That's politics. Mara looked at Evan. They know I helped you. They're making an example. We can fight this. With what? I accessed restricted files without authorization. They've got cause. Evan felt guilt twist in his chest. This is my fault. This is Caleb's fault. Don't confuse the two. Mara pulled out her phone. Ruthie's been trying to reach you. Says she has something important. Evan called. Ruthie answered immediately. I've been going through old recordings, Ruthie said. Dale's voice had a distinctive whistle. Dental surgery left a gap in his front teeth. It's on every tape he made. Can you testify to that? I can do better. I've got recordings from the station. Clear samples. A forensic audio analyst can match them to your tape. Will you go on record? I already did. Gave a statement to state police this morning. They're bringing in an expert. Evan felt something shift. Thank you. Thank Dale. He left enough evidence to convict his killer. I'm just helping finish his story. Evan hung up. He looked at Harper. Ruthie's testifying. Audio analysis will confirm Dale's voice. Good. That closes the identification gap. Harper checked his watch. State police want to interview you at 2. Formal statement. Everything you know about the tapes and the room. I'll be there. Harper left. Mara stayed. I meant what I said, Evan said, about this being my fault. Stop, I made my choice. Mara looked at the investigators working the creek. I'd make it again. What will you do now? I've been thinking about starting an ambulance fund. Small donations, community-driven. We need better equipment anyway. She smiled. Maybe losing that job was the push I needed. Sarah Vance's car appeared. She parked and walked over with her camera. Front page, Sarah said. She held up a newspaper. The headline read, County Supervisor Arrested in Decades-Old Cover-Up. Below was a photo of the barrel, of Caleb in cuffs, of Harper making the arrest. It's statewide news now, Sarah said. 3 other papers picked it up. TV stations are calling. Evan looked at Dale's name in the article, at the photo of him from 20 years ago. Young, smiling, alive. He deserved better than this, Evan said. He got the truth, that's something. Sarah pocketed her camera. I'm writing a follow-up. About you, about Mara, about what it costs to speak up. I don't want to be the story. You already are. She left. Evan and Mara stood watching the investigators work. The creek ran clear. The mud was being sifted. The barrels were being documented one by one. We should check on Jax, Mara said. Why? Because he testified on camera. Because he went against Caleb. Because he's got a daughter and he's probably terrified. They drove to the county building. Jax was in his truck in the parking lot. He saw them coming and climbed out. They cut my hours, Jax said. Said budget issues. But I know why. I'm sorry, Evan said. Don't be. I did the right thing. Emma will know that. Jax looked at the building. I've got to give a formal deposition tomorrow. State police. Everything I saw. Everything I recorded. You scared? Terrified. But I'm doing it anyway. Mara handed him a card. My number. You need anything. Call. Jax nodded. He got back in his truck and sat there. Not leaving, not moving, just sitting. He's braver than he thinks, Mara said. They drove back to Evan's place. The investigators were packing up for the day. The sun was setting. Long shadows crossed the property. Evan walked to the sealed room. The yellow tape was gone now. The space was empty. Just walls and floor and the ghost of what happened there. He thought about Dale, about 20 years of silence, about how close the truth had come to staying buried. Tomorrow he'd give his statement. Tomorrow the legal machinery would grind forward. Tonight he'd start planning how to fix this house properly, how to make it a home instead of a grave. The deposition took 4 hours. State police asked every question twice, recorded everything, made Evan walk through each discovery in detail. When he finished, an attorney approached him in the hall. I'm representing the Emery family, the attorney said. Dale's sister wants to meet you. When? Tomorrow, if you're willing. Evan agreed. That evening, Ruthie called. The audio analysis came back. Definitive match. Dale's voice, Dale's whistle, no question. How long until trial? Months, maybe a year. Caleb's got lawyers. They'll drag it out. Ruthie paused. But the environmental charges are moving faster. EPA's filing next week. Fines could run into millions. What happens to the industrial park? Dead. Investors pulled out this morning. No one wants to touch land with buried contamination. Evan thought about what Harper had said. About jobs tied to that development. About people who'd suffer when it fell apart. A lot of folks are going to blame us, Evan said. A lot of folks already do. You'll hear about it. She was right. The next morning, Evan found garbage dumped at the end of his driveway. Someone had spray-painted snitch on his mailbox. A note was stapled to his porch. You ruined this town. Mara came by and saw it. Ignore them. Hard to ignore. These are Caleb's people, the ones who benefited from his deals. They're scared and angry and lashing out. Should I call Harper? He knows he's getting the same treatment. Mara picked up the note. This is part of it, part of standing up. It gets worse before it gets better. That afternoon, Evan met Dale's sister. Her name was Carol. She was 60. Gray hair, tired eyes. She looked like Dale in the photos. Thank you, Carol said, for not giving up, for finding him. I wish I'd found him sooner. You found him. That's what matters. She handed Evan an envelope. This is from Dale's estate, what was left. I want you to have it. I can't take this. You gave my brother a voice. You gave him justice. This is the least I can do. Evan opened the envelope. Inside was a check. $20,000. This is too much. It's not enough, but it's what I have. Carol stood. Use it to fix your house. Make it a place worth living in. That's what Dale would have wanted. She left. Evan sat holding the check. He thought about the sealed room, about the burned workshop siding, about all the repairs still needed. $20,000 would cover most of it. That evening he drove to Ruthie's house. She answered with tea already brewing. I need you to help me with something, Evan said. What? I want to set up a memorial for Dale, something public, something that tells his story. Ruthie smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. They spent 2 hours planning. A plaque at the library, Dale's photo, the story of what he'd uncovered, what it had cost him. We'll need permission from the county, Ruthie said. They'll say no. Probably, but we'll ask anyway. Make them deny it on record. Evan went home. The garbage was gone from his driveway. Someone had cleaned it. He never found out who. Inside he made dinner, sat at the table, looked at the empty room where Dale had died. Tomorrow he'd start tearing it down properly, taking out the false walls, the old studs, the evidence of concealment. He'd rebuild it right. Open, honest, light, a room you could breathe in. 3 nights later, Evan woke to darkness. The power was out. He grabbed his flashlight and checked the breaker. Nothing. He walked outside. The meter had been opened, wires cut clean. Someone had done this deliberately. He heard an engine, not on the road, closer, in the trees beyond the workshop. Evan went back inside and locked the doors. He called Mara. "Someone cut my power. There's a vehicle in the woods." "I'm calling. Harper, stay inside." He moved to the window. Through the trees he saw headlights, a truck, idling. Then the sound of chains dragging across metal. They were at the sealed room's exterior vent, trying to remove evidence. Evan grabbed his phone and started recording. He couldn't see much, but the audio would capture the sounds. The engine, the chains, the voices calling to each other. 20 minutes later, Harper's cruiser came up the drive with lights off. He parked and moved into the trees on foot. Evan heard shouting, an engine revving, tires spinning in mud. Then Harper emerged with 2 men in cuffs. Evan recognized one. He'd been with Caleb at the creek. "Caught them pulling the vent housing?" Harper said. "They've got bolt cutters, pry bars. They were going to strip the whole system." "Why?" "To destroy proof the room was built to keep someone alive. They want it to look like a sealed tomb, not a prison." Harper loaded the men into his cruiser. "I'm posting a deputy here tonight. This isn't over." He was right. The next morning, Evan found his workshop door jimmied open. Nothing stolen. But someone had gone through his tools, moved things, left marks. The message was clear. They could get in anytime they wanted. Mara showed up with coffee and resolve. "You should stay somewhere else, just until the trial." "This is my home. This is a target. I'm not leaving." "Then let me stay. 2 people are harder to intimidate than 1. Evan started to argue, then stopped. She was right, and he was tired of being alone. "The guest room needs work," he said. "I'll help fix it." That afternoon they reinforced the locks, installed motion lights, set up 2 more trail cameras covering different angles. At dusk, Jax showed up with lumber. "Heard you needed help." "You don't have to do this." "I want to." Jax unloaded 2x4s. "Besides, Emma asks what I did today. I want to tell her something good." They worked until dark, built a reinforced doorframe for the workshop, replaced the damaged siding from the fire. Simple work, honest work, the kind that felt like progress. That night the trail cameras caught 3 separate vehicles slow-rolling past the house. None stopped, but all 3 lingered, watching. Evan reviewed the footage with Mara. "They're tracking our routine. Then we change it, different times, different patterns, keep them guessing. Or we set a trap." Mara looked at him. "What kind of trap?" "We leave the master tape somewhere obvious. See who comes for it. That's bait. You'll be the one in danger. I'll have cameras running, Harper on speed dial. It's worth the risk if it identifies who's still working for Caleb." Mara didn't like it, but she didn't say no. They spent the next day setting up. The master tape went in the workshop, visible from the window, labeled clearly. The cameras covered every approach. The deputy Harper posted stayed in his cruiser at the road. At 2 in the morning motion, alerts triggered. Evan and Mara watched on monitors. A figure in dark clothes approached the workshop, tried the door, found it unlocked, went inside. Evan called Harper. "Someone's here, southwest corner. Cameras are recording." The figure emerged with the tape case, moved toward the tree line. The deputy's spotlight hit them. The figure ran, dropped the case, disappeared into the woods. Harper arrived 10 minutes later. He picked up the case and opened it. Inside was a blank tape. The real master was still hidden. "They took the bait," Harper said. "Did you see who it was?" "No, but we've got footage. We'll identify them." The deputy found footprints. Size 10, work boots, fresh tread. 2 days later, Harper called. "We matched the prints. It was Caleb's nephew. He's been arrested. Attempted theft. Breaking and entering." "Will he testify against Caleb?" "He's talking. Says Caleb ordered him to find the tapes. Says there's more people involved." Evan felt the net tighten. "How many more?" "We're finding out." The storm came early. Weather reports had predicted afternoon rain. Instead, it hit at dawn. Hard and fast. Evan woke to thunder and wind rattling the windows. He checked the creek from the porch. The water was already rising. Brown and fast. Mara came downstairs. "We need to secure the bank. If the current undercuts the investigation site, we'll lose evidence. In this weather? Especially in this weather. The barrels that are still buried will shift. If they wash downstream, the GPS markers won't match." They drove to the creek in the rain. The current was vicious. The bank was crumbling. Roots hung exposed. The investigation tape was tearing loose. "We need to pull the remaining barrels now," Mara said, "before the creek takes them." "The winch is in the truck." They set up fast. The rain made everything slippery. Evan attached the come-along to a stable tree. Mara fed the chain down into the water. The first barrel was deep. The chain kept slipping. Evan cranked until his hands bled. The barrel shifted but wouldn't break free. "It's stuck on something," Mara shouted over the rain. Evan climbed down into the water. It was waist-deep and rising. He felt along the barrel's base. A tree root had grown through a hole in the metal. He pulled out a knife and started cutting. The root was thick. The water kept pushing him off balance. "Evan, get out of there," Mara yelled. He cut harder. The root split. The barrel lurched. The current grabbed it and nearly pulled Evan under. Mara hauled on the winch. Evan scrambled up the bank. The barrel came with him. Mud and water poured off the metal. They pulled it to higher ground. The serial number was clear. County stamp. Same sequence as the others. "One more," Mara said. Evan looked at the creek. It had risen another foot. The current was faster now, angrier. "We're not going to make it," he said. "We have to try." They moved to the second barrel's marker, Venetia. Attached the chain. Started cranking. The barrel wouldn't budge. "It's under too much water," Evan said. "We need to wait. If we wait, it washes away. If we keep going, we drown." Mara looked at the roiling water, at the barrel barely visible below the surface, at Evan's bleeding hands. "You're right. We stop." They gathered their tools. The rain hammered down. Thunder cracked overhead. Walking back to the truck felt like moving through a wall of water. Evan slipped twice. The second time, Mara caught him. They stood there in the storm, holding each other up. "This is insane," Evan said. "This is necessary." "Is it? Are 2 more barrels worth dying for?" Mara didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was quiet, almost lost in the rain. "I don't know anymore. I thought I did. But standing here now, I don't know." They made it to the truck. Soaked. Shaking. Evan started the engine and cranked the heat. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Evan's phone rang. "Jax." "Where are you?" Jax asked. "At the creek." "In this storm?" "We were pulling barrels." "Past tense?" "Yeah, it's too dangerous." "Good, because I'm coming to you. I've got something you need to see." Jax arrived 30 minutes later. He was soaked too. He had a tablet in a waterproof case. "I went back through my body cam footage," Jax said. "Frame by frame. Watch this." He played the recording from the day they pulled the first barrel, Caleb lunging forward, reaching for the barrel, Harper grabbing him. "Now watch Caleb's hand," Jack said. He froze the frame, enhanced it. Caleb's fingers were wrapped around something, a small object. He'd been trying to palm it when Harper pulled him away. "What is that?" Evan asked. "I think it's a tag, a second ID marker, one that doesn't match the county codes." "Corporate," Mara said. He was trying to remove proof the barrels came from a specific company. "Which means there's more to this than county waste," Jack said. "There's private contracts, money changing hands, a whole network." Evan felt it expand. Not just Caleb. Not just the county. Something bigger. "Have you shown this to Harper?" Evan asked. "Not yet. Wanted you to see it first." "Show him. Today. This changes everything." Jax left. The storm kept raging. Evan and Mara sat in the truck watching the creek rise. For the first time since finding Dale's body, Evan wondered if they'd gone far enough, or if they'd barely scratched the surface. Harper came at noon. The rain had slowed to drizzle. He watched Jax's footage 3 times without speaking. "That's a private waste hauler's tag," Harper finally said. "Industrial, chemical, the kind that gets tracked federally. Caleb was taking disposal money from companies and dumping it illegally," Evan said. "Looks that way, which means this isn't just environmental crime. It's fraud, racketeering, maybe RICO. What happens now? FBI, they'll want everything." Harper looked at Evan. "You need to understand what that means. Federal investigation, years in court, your life on hold. Dale's life was on hold for 20 years, in a sealed room, in the dark." Harper nodded slowly. "Fair point." He left to make calls. Mara and Evan walked the property. The storm had brought down branches. The creek was still high but dropping. At the investigation site, they found the second barrel. The storm had washed away enough soil to expose it completely. The serial number was visible, clear, and it matched the private hauler tag Caleb had tried to remove. Evan photographed it, marked the GPS coordinates, called Harper back. By evening, the site was crawling with federal agents. White suits, evidence bags, grid markers. An FBI agent approached Evan. Her name was Torres. She was 40, sharp eyes, no-nonsense voice. "You've done good work," Torres said. "Now let us finish it." "How long will it take?" "Months, maybe longer. We're building a case that has to survive appeal." She looked at the house. "You planning to stay here?" "This is my home." "Then get a good security system. Caleb's people will want you quiet." "They've already tried." "They'll try harder, especially now that this is federal." She was right. That night, 2 trucks slow-rolled past the house. One stopped at the end of the driveway, idled there for a full minute, then left. The message was clear. "We know where you are." The next morning, Ruthie called. "The county board voted last night. They're rejecting the memorial proposal, said it's divisive." "Did you expect different?" "No, but I wanted them on record denying it." Ruthie paused. "There's something else. 3 board members resigned yesterday. Word is they're cooperating with the FBI." "How many board members are there total?" 7. So almost half just flipped. "The smart ones. The ones who see which way this is going." Ruthie's voice dropped. "The other 4 are circling wagons. They're the ones you need to watch." Evan hung up. He looked at Mara. "This is getting bigger." "Good. Big means it can't be swept away. Big means more people with something to lose. We've come this far." She was right. They'd come too far to stop now. That afternoon, Jax arrived again, this time with news that changed everything. "They offered me a deal," Jax said. "Full-time position, county safety inspector, salary bump, benefits." "In exchange for what?" "Keeping my mouth shut, losing the body cam footage, calling everything I saw a misunderstanding." "What did you say?" I said I'd think about it. Jax sat down. Emma starts preschool next year. My wife wants a second kid. This job would mean stability. And your conscience? Would hate me forever. Jax looked at his hands. I'm turning it down. I'm testifying. Whatever comes after that comes. Mara smiled. Emma's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. She makes me want to be better. He left. Evan stood at the window, watching the road. The sun was setting. Long shadows stretched across the yard. How many people are we going to cost their jobs? Evan asked. As many as it takes, Mara said. The truth isn't convenient. It's just true. That night, the trail cameras caught something different. Not a truck slow-rolling. Not someone trying to break in. A woman, standing at the end of the driveway, just standing there in the dark, watching the house. When Harper enhanced the footage, they recognized her. County clerk, the one who'd fired Mara. Why is she here? Evan asked. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. The next morning, Mara drove to the courthouse, came back 2 hours later. She wanted to apologize, Mara said. Off the record. She said the board forced her to fire me. Said she's been documenting everything they've asked her to do that's questionable. Is she cooperating with the FBI? She is now. I gave her Torres's number. Evan felt the foundation crack further. Board members flipping. County employees cooperating. The network collapsing. We're going to win this, he said. Maybe. Or maybe we're just seeing how deep the corruption runs. Either way, they weren't stopping. The confrontation came on a Thursday. Gray morning, rain threatening again. Caleb made bail. $10 million. Posted by investors from the development deal. The news hit social media before Harper could warn Evan. He's out? Evan asked on the phone. As of an hour ago, ankle monitor. Can't leave the county, but he's mobile. Is he going to come here? I don't know, but I'm sending a deputy. The deputy arrived at 10, parked at the road, kept watch. At noon, Caleb's truck appeared, followed by 2 more vehicles. They pulled into the driveway and stopped. Caleb climbed out. He looked thinner, older, angry. Behind him came his lawyer, a man in a suit, and 2 workers from the salvage yard. The deputy moved forward. Mr. North, you're restricted from contact with witnesses. This is county property, Caleb said. I'm exercising my right to inspect it. This is private land. That barrel has county stamps. That makes it county property. I'm here to remove it. Evan stepped onto the porch. You're not taking anything. You've destroyed this town, Caleb said. His voice was tight with rage. Jobs gone, development dead, families hurting, all because you couldn't mind your own business. I found a body in my wall. That is my business. That body had been there 20 years. It could have stayed there 20 more. Dale Emery deserved better. Dale Emery was a troublemaker who stuck his nose where it didn't belong, just like you. The lawyer touched Caleb's arm. That's enough. But Caleb jerked away. He moved toward the creek. The deputy and Evan followed. So did Mara, who'd just arrived. At the investigation site, the remaining barrel sat tagged and documented. Caleb stared at it. I built this county, he said quietly. Every road, every bridge, every job. I kept things running when no one else would. By burying poison, Evan said. By doing what was necessary. By making hard choices no one else had the stones to make. You killed a man. I protected hundreds. You think those barrels were worse than unemployment? Than families losing everything? Caleb turned. His face was stone. You made a choice too. You chose a dead man over living ones. I chose the truth. The truth is a luxury. This town can't afford it. Sirens broke the tension. More vehicles. FBI logos. Torres climbed out with 4 agents. "Caleb North," Torres called. "You're in violation of your bail conditions. Contact with witnesses." "I'm on county land." "You're on Mr. Kincaid's property. That's a violation," Caleb's lawyer whispered urgently. Caleb ignored him. He walked to the barrel and grabbed the evidence tag. Jax's voice cut through. "Stop." Everyone turned. Jax was standing at the tree line. His body camera was on. Red light, steady. "I'm recording," Jax said. "Mr. North is attempting to tamper with evidence. Federal evidence, on camera." Caleb's hand froze on the tag. "Step away from the barrel," Torres said. Caleb didn't move. His fingers stayed wrapped around the tag. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then Mara's phone rang. She answered on speaker. "This is Sarah Vance. I'm streaming this live. 10,000 viewers right now. Mr. North, if you remove that tag, the whole state is watching." Caleb looked up, saw the phones recording, saw the cameras, saw the witnesses. His hand dropped. Torres moved forward. "You just added obstruction to your charges. Cuff him." An agent moved in. Caleb didn't resist this time, just stood there as they locked the cuffs. Before they led him away, Caleb looked at Evan. "This isn't over," Caleb said. "Yes, it is." They took him. The vehicles left. The property went quiet. Evan sat on the porch. Mara joined him. Then Jax. Then Harper, who'd arrived during the confrontation. "That was close," Harper said. "Too close," Mara said. Jax turned off his body camera. "Will that footage hold up?" "With Sarah's stream backing it? Absolutely." Harper looked at Evan. "You did good, all of you." "Dale did good. We just finished his work." They sat there as the sun broke through clouds. The creek ran steady below. The barrel sat documented and preserved. The truth was locked in now. Unshakable. "What happens next?" Evan asked. "Trial, testimony, time." Harper stood. "But the hardest part's done. You stood when it mattered." He left. Mara and Jax followed eventually. Evan stayed on the porch, watching the hills, thinking about Dale in that room, about choices made in darkness, about light that refused to stay hidden. The story was almost finished. Almost. The trial took 8 months. Evan testified twice, so did Mara, and Jax, and Ruthie, and 30 other witnesses. The evidence was overwhelming. The tapes, the barrels, the room, the procurement records, the body, cam footage, the forensic analysis. The defense tried everything: reasonable doubt, procedural challenges, character assassination. None of it worked. The jury deliberated 4 hours, found Caleb guilty on all counts: murder, conspiracy, racketeering, environmental crimes, evidence tampering. Sentencing came 3 weeks later. 25 to life. No possibility of parole for 20 years. Caleb looked old in the orange jumpsuit. He didn't speak at sentencing, didn't show remorse, just stared at the wall as they led him away. Outside the courthouse, Evan found Carol waiting. Dale's sister. She looked lighter somehow, unburdened. "Thank you," Carol said, "for everything." "He deserves the credit. He left the evidence. He told the story. I just listened." "You did more than listen. You acted." She hugged him. "Dale would have liked you." She left. Evan drove home through hills turning green with spring. The investigation site was cleared now. The barrels removed. The soil tested and treated. The creek ran clean. At the house, he found Mara on the porch with coffee and newspapers. "Front page again," Mara said. The headline read, "Justice for Dale Emery." Below was a photo of Caleb being led away, and a smaller photo of Dale, young, smiling, finally at rest. "The county approved the memorial," Mara said. "New board, new vote. It'll be unveiled next month. Will you come?" Of course. They drank coffee in silence. Jax's truck pulled up. He had Emma with him. She ran to the porch with a drawing. I made this for you, Emma said. It showed a house, a creek, people standing together. Simple, honest, the way kids see the world. Thank you, Evan said. I'll hang it inside. Jax stayed for lunch. They talked about normal things, work, weather, Emma's preschool, the kind of easy conversation that felt like healing. After they left, Evan walked through the house. He'd spent the last months renovating properly. The sealed room was gone, opened, made part of the living space. Light poured through new windows. The walls were clean, the floors level, the roof solid. It felt like a home now, not a grave. That evening, Sarah Vance called. I'm writing a book, about Dale, about you, about what happened. Would you be willing to talk? What would you want to know? Everything, how it felt, what it cost, why you didn't stop. Evan thought about that. Because stopping would have meant forgetting, and forgetting would have meant Dale died twice. Can I quote that? If it helps tell his story. They talked for an hour. When Evan hung up, the sun was setting. The hills glowed orange and gold. He walked to the creek. The bank was healed now, grass growing, trees stabilized, the water clear and cold. He thought about Dale's voice on the tape. About the room that was meant to be a hiding place but became a tomb. About silence that lasted 20 years. About truth that refused to stay buried. He heard a car. Turned. Mara was parking. Thought. You might want company, she said. Always. They sat on the creek bank as dark came. Stars appeared. An owl called from the trees. I'm staying, Evan said. In the house? In the town. This is home now. Mara smiled. Good. Because the ambulance fund is taking off. I'm going to need help managing it. I'm not good with money. You're good with truth. That's harder to find. They stayed until cold drove them inside. Evan made dinner. They ate at the table where Dale's tape had first played, where the story had begun, where it was finally ending, or maybe just beginning again, differently, honestly, in light. 3 months later, the memorial was unveiled, bronze plaque, Dale's photo, his story told in simple words. Dale Emery, 1966-1998, journalist, truth-teller, voice for the voiceless. His questions cost his life. His evidence gave him justice. The ceremony drew 200 people. Carol spoke. Sarah read from her book manuscript. Ruthie played a recording of Dale's voice from his radio show. When it ended, people stayed, talked, remembered. The healing was slow but real. Evan stood with Mara. Harper joined them. EPA fines came through, Harper said. 12 million, going into remediation and victim assistance. What about the development site? Evan asked. Being converted to a park, creek restoration, walking trails, a way to turn the damage into something useful. Dale would have liked that. He would have. Harper left. Jax approached with Emma. She was wearing a dress and carrying flowers. Can I put these by the memorial? Emma asked. That's why we brought them, Jax said. Evan walked with them. Emma laid the flowers carefully, read the plaque slowly, looked up at her father. He was brave, Emma said. He was. Like you. Jax's eyes glistened. I'm learning to be. They left. Evan and Mara stayed as people filtered away. Finally, just the two of them, and the plaque and the memory of a man who died trying to do right. What now? Mara asked. Now we live. We work. We remember. That's enough? It has to be. They walked back to Evan's truck. The town square was quiet. Main Street showed new life, a cafe opening, a hardware store expanding. Small steps, honest growth. At the farmhouse, Evan parked and climbed out. The place looked finished now, repaired. whole. The scars were still visible if you knew where to look, but they were healed. Mara followed him to the porch. I should get going. You could stay for dinner. I'd like that. Inside, Evan started cooking. Mara set the table. Easy, comfortable, the rhythm of two people learning to share space. They ate as sunset painted the hills, talked about small things, tomorrow's weather, weekend plans, the ordinary comfort of a normal evening. After dinner, they sat on the porch. Stars emerged. The creek whispered below. An owl called. Do you ever wonder what Dale would think? Mara asked. About all this? Every day. And? I think he'd say the same thing he said on that tape, that someone needed to know, that truth matters even when it costs everything. Evan looked at her. I think he'd say it was worth it. Was it? For him, I think so. Evan paused. For us, we're still finding out. They sat in comfortable silence. The night deepened. Light from the kitchen spilled onto the porch. Tomorrow would bring work. The house still needed finishing touches. The community still needed healing. The story still needed telling. But tonight was enough. This moment. This quiet. This home that had been a grave and was now a place where life could grow again, where truth could rest, where silence had finally ended. Evan looked at the stars, at the hills, at the house that was his now, truly his. Thank you, Dale, he said quietly. Mara took his hand, squeezed once. They sat until cold drove them inside, together.